Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
A magic beyond anything you could ever imagine.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Sagrera Farms on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day.
You really think that's the best idea?
Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
It's quite a piece of work.
Welcome in hour number one here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, live from the Raising Cane studio. Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show brought to you by Sagrera Farms. Taylor Sharp sitting in the host chair one last time this week for our guy Hunt Palmer, who's out there doing something near the beach. It may not even be beach related, but look, we got one more day here for you. We are all off on Friday, so for the next 2 hours, hope you're hanging out with us. Maybe you are working towards a 3-day weekend as well. Again, Taylor Sharp here with you, Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali, along for the ride as well here on this Thursday. The U.S. men's national team, big-time win last night in the knockout round, the round of 16. Their first knockout round win in the World Cup since the year 2002. Cassie probably was not even born yet. During that, she's shaking her head. No, Cassie was not born in 2000. Jordan, were you born in 2002?
I was 2 years old in 2002.
Okay, I was about to say, I was sitting here and I was like, I don't know how old Jordan is.
No. I was here.
Okay.
I
was like,
conscious.
I know you're somewhere between
I was
me
here.
and Cassie. I couldn't remember.
I was here.
Okay, well, they get their first knockout round win in the World Cup since 2002. They will take on Belgium coming up on Monday night after a 2-0, see that? Soccer terms, I'm learning. 2-0 victory over Bosnia last night. So exciting stuff. What better way to kind of break in the 250th anniversary than to get a big-time win there in the World Cup. That's going to conclude our World Cup talk for today, but we got a lot to hit on. We got some NFL. We got some LSU football. LSU baseball got a pitcher in the portal. We're breaking all that down in the 2 o'clock hour. Heck, maybe even some fantasy football thrown around out there. We got a lot to get to, but before we do any of that, let's get this thing started.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
Yesterday, Ben Solak of ESPN.com put out 10 predictions for the 2026 NFL season. And there's a lot I like about this. Like, okay, his first one, Myles Garrett will hit 20 sacks. Probably. The defensive line's really good to where it's going to be tough to double team Myles Garrett, as crazy as it is to say, along that defensive line for the LA Rams. And he puts out there, Dak Prescott will become the 10th quarterback to throw for 5,000 yards in a season. Maybe he was dang close a year ago. He certainly got the offensive weapons. That's something to keep an eye on. Like, the Chiefs will miss the playoffs again. If you've listened to me any on OTB, you know that is something that I am pretty gung-ho about this year. I predicted them to miss the playoffs last year. I do think that will happen again. They're just old. They don't have a ton of weapons for Patrick Mahomes to throw to. Travis Kelce allegedly getting married over the weekend. So where's his focus really going to be? I think it's his last year in the league. And Mahomes coming off of a torn ACL in like early December. What's that going to look like? Is he even going to start the season? So I get all that. But also, he has the Texans winning the AFC. No shot. No shot that happens. Not if CJ Stroud plays the way he did a year ago. I don't know how that could occur. I mean, he does mention Bo Nix's ankle. You know, like, that's a good roster. Steelers and Patriots. I get all that. I don't see how the Texans win if CJ Stroud does not elevate his level of play. But the one I want to hit on, you'll scroll down a little bit, and Ben says the Saints will win the NFC South. And Jordan, I'll get your thoughts here in a second. But just looking at it on paper, I could absolutely see this happening. And honestly, I'm really close to predicting this happening. I'm not there yet, but it's been a weak division for a number of years. You should be a lot better in 2026 than you were in years past. You had Dennis Allen holding you back. You had kind of a turnstile rotation of quarterbacks. You tried to bring in Derek Carr. You gave him the big contract. He was never a fit. It didn't work out. But you got Tyler Shuck and what he did towards the end of the year. Like, you finished on a 4-1 record to finish the 2025 season. And Tyler Shuck looked as good, if not better, in my opinion, better than any other rookie quarterback in the NFL a year ago towards the back half of the year. Also, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. No team in the NFC South had a winning record a year ago. 8-9 won this division. It was actually a log jam at 8-9. The Panthers took it home just because they beat the Bucs late in the year. But Panthers 8-9, Bucks 8-9, Falcons 8-9. You're sitting there a few games below. But when you look at team by team, I got a lot of confidence in the Saints, more so than their counterparts, which is kind of weird to say considering the roller coaster of emotions the Saints have put their fans on the last few years. But let's start with the Falcons. You have quarterback uncertainty because Michael Penix isn't fully healthy, and even when he is fully healthy, not sure how good he is. Is Tua Tagovailoa probably going to win the starting job? Yeah, I would say so right now. Also, losing Zach Robinson as the offensive coordinator, to me, is a bigger loss than most people are kind of considering. He utilized Bijan Robinson perfectly these last 2 years in Atlanta. And what if we asked from Kyle Pitts as just fans of the NFL since he got drafted in the first round? Can you break out? Can you have a breakout season? Well, he finally did in a Zach Robinson offense a year ago. And that's a guy who had been the OC in Atlanta for 2 years and got production out of two of your biggest weapons in Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson. He's out of the building. Pair that with a first-time head coach there in Atlanta, at least for the Falcons. It's year one there in Atlanta. I just think there's too many question marks for me to get behind. Now, shift over to the Carolina Panthers. How good is Bryce Young? Because all we heard last year was, Bryce Young looks better. Better than bad ain't necessarily good, though. And when you look at it, yeah, he was better across the board. 63% completion, 3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. But, was that a huge jump from 2 years ago? 2,400 yards, 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. They go 8-9 last year. Yes, they do win that division. And honestly, they gave the Green Bay Packers all they wanted in that wild card game a year ago. So props to them. But I got to see Bryce Young do it again. You do have Teteroa McMillan, but you moved on from Rico Dowdle, who Jordan loves. He knows I didn't share the same amount of love for Rico Dowdle until a year ago. That was like
Bitcoin. That was like investing in Bitcoin.
That's your guy. You liked him at the Cowboys.
Yeah,
you liked
him
before he even came onto the scene.
Even before he popped off.
Credit to you. You were like, Taylor, this guy's a fantasy merchant. And I was like, yeah, man. Well, I don't like him in Dallas. And in fairness, when Dallas moved on, Javonte Williams was better.
He was good.
In Dallas.
He was good.
But Rico Dowdle was a perfect fit there. He beat out Chuba Hubbard even before Chuba Hubbard got hurt. And then Chuba's supposed to be the number one back there this year. What's that going to look like? He's battled injuries. Even Jonathan Brooks, they're trying to make him a thing.
Who hasn't popped off yet.
He hasn't popped off, and he's dealt with so many injuries. What's that running game look like? Because if you can't have the running game that you had in the back half of last year when Bryce Young and the Panthers offense finally got hot, can you rely on Bryce Young to drop back and throw it 30, 35 times a game? I'm not. At least not what I've seen so far. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. On paper, still maybe the most talented team in the division, but they lost a lot. First off, we talked about it yesterday. For some reason, they're not paying Baker Mayfield, even though they don't really have any high-priced contracts on their teams. I don't know what they're waiting for. We're in a contract dispute with Baker Mayfield and Vita Vea. That's your leader on offense and your leader on defense. You got to have both of those guys on the field. Baker, I think, will play, but Vita Vea is a holdout right now. What does that look like on their defensive line? Now, their O-line, if healthy, is good. We saw him first 5-6 games of the year. Everybody's like, Baker's going to win MVP if he keeps up. Yeah. Everything fell apart. Basically, everybody outside of Tristan Wirfs was out on that offensive line. But can they stay healthy again? Because they couldn't a year ago. Now, we do need to mention, I mentioned that I think Zach Robinson was a big loss for the Atlanta Falcons. He is now the OC in Tampa Bay. And I think him and Baker Mayfield are actually going to make a pretty good pair. So that's the team I worry about the most if you're looking at the Saints' obstacles. But the defense is suspect. It was a year ago, and there were some DBs you didn't bring back. Sure, you locked down Antoine Winfield Jr. for a big deal. But outside of him, I think there's a big question mark in the secondary. I don't trust Todd Bowles. I don't trust Todd Bowles as a head coach. He's a good defensive coach, but honestly, it was the defense that held him back in big moments. Remember, and Jordan, I don't know if you were watching this or as locked in as I was late in the year because I've always been a big Baker Mayfield fan, but they had the Atlanta Falcons beat. If they win that game, they win the division. The Carolina game doesn't matter. It was 3rd and 24 or 3rd and 26, something like that. Atlanta has the ball. They get it to 4th and 14. So you already gave up a big play. It is 4th and 14, season on the line. If Atlanta doesn't convert, in all likelihood, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win the NFC South, and Todd Bowles screwed it up. That defense gave up a 20-yard gain on 4th and 14, and the Falcons went down the field, put points on the board, and wound up winning that game. I don't trust him. I think he has had the luxury of having definitely the best quarterback play in his division since he took over. I mean, when he took over right after the Super Bowl, he still had another year of Tom Brady. Now he's on year 3 of Baker Mayfield when Atlanta was still figuring things out. Saints didn't even have Tyler Shuck yet, and Bryce Young was just coming off of a pretty up-and-down rookie year. Everybody else has caught up to Todd Bowles in that division. I don't trust him as a head coach. Jordan, for you, look, man, like, I don't want to get too ahead of myself because it's been tough sledding the past couple years, but this is the most confident I've felt in the Saints in a long time in terms of can they grab the NFC South crown.
No, I mean, I totally get it and I understand.
Yep.
It's a lot of other circumstances, and it's really just if the Saints can meet their potential. But when you have potential, that means you have expectations. So
That's
it's
right.
one of the first times we're going to see the Saints have expectations in a long time. And I really don't I don't know how I should feel about that, honestly, because it's been a while since I've had real expectations. I mean, I guess you could say with Derek Carr, but you kind of knew after year 1 with Derek Carr what it was.
Year 1 of Carr, you're like, oh, hey, maybe you finally have a guy that can at least be a stable quarterback. Really the first one you've had since Drew Brees.
Yeah.
After year 1,
you knew what it was.
You kind of saw, and then his attitude really on the sidelines.
The teammates didn't gel with him.
That's what I always talk about when everybody talks about the Derek Carr era in New Orleans. I'm like, you look at the raw numbers, they're not terrible in New Orleans, but it was just the way he fit, the way his attitude on the sidelines, what his teammates necessarily thought about. Yeah,
the fan base didn't like him. So
it was really the off the field and the total vibe he gave off, really more so than even the on-field play. Year 1, you knew that wasn't going to work. So, yeah, like, I'm with you. Really, since year 1 of Derek Carr, this is the most expectations can Kellen Moore live up to it is the thing. But honestly, you and I talked about this the other day.
What does live up to? What is what is everybody looking for? I guess just to come out and win the division. That's what we're saying. Like, what are we exactly?
9-8, maybe.
I'm about to say, what is the measure stick?
Does a winning record make you feel good? Because honestly, 9-8 wins the division a year ago.
Yeah, I'm probably going to win it this year again.
So can you get to 9-8,
okay,
a winning record, and at least be in the hunt and playing meaningful football
late
the last 3 weeks of the year?
Late in the year, okay.
If you can do that, man, because I understand it's hard to win in the NFL.
Extremely.
Put yourself in a position to potentially get into the playoffs. Try to get a winning record, 9-8. I think that's right. I mean, okay. I'm not expecting, this team's got to go win 12 or 13 games. But, dude, you got to compete. Yeah. This division has been weak for a long time. And honestly, I think it's the weakest it's been in about 4 years because I think the Bucs are weaker than they've been in about 2 or 3 years. And I think the Falcons are down a little bit.
Somebody's going to rise.
What are the Panthers going to look like? Why can't it be the Saints?
Yep.
Like, if you'd have told me at the beginning of the year last year, I would have said, no. It's going to be either Tampa or the Falcons. Like, I'm not getting the Panthers win, man. I mean, they had a couple things fall their way. They had some tiebreakers, and they gave the Green Bay all they wanted in that playoff game. And, like, they had a shot to win that game. So just get yourself in position. And, I mean, I think, to me, that's a successful season.
Okay. I'm saying, you definitely have to be playing meaningful games the last 3 weeks of the year. You definitely need to be in one of those, man, the little wild card, when they show the little graphic of the wild card teams. And obviously we're going to have to be the one that wins the division. We're not going to be the team in the hunt. But, you definitely want to put yourself there. So I'll say 9-8 for sure. But at the same time, you're actually going to have, I'm going to say a target on your back. But if you're going to come out, you're going to go from being the team hunting everybody to now people are focusing on you in the schedule. Instead of being like, we got the Saints this week. All right, that's kind of, all right, my guy on fantasy going to go off this week. They play the Saints this week. And like, instead of looking at it like that, it's like, the Saints this week. We gotta bring it. So that's gonna be the flip. That how is this team gonna adjust to being the team that people actually want to play and want to beat instead of being the guy that's this is a stats game. We don't get our stats this game.
Well, so it's funny. If you remember, the Panthers clinched the division because of a Falcons loss. Because
who they lost to?
I don't remember because the Buccaneers beat the Panthers the final game of the regular season.
I know we lost to the Falcons.
So that was it.
Okay,
that was it.
We lost to
it was the Falcons win.
Yeah.
Because it gave the Panthers the tiebreaker. The Bucs had lost to the Falcons. The Panthers had beat them. So, like, the Panthers actually finished the season on a loss.
Yeah.
And won the division. I'd argue that the Saints finished hotter than anybody in that division.
Oh, easy.
Because the Falcons were up and down. The Bucs imploded.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bucs were 6-2 at one point to start that year. I mean, they looked like they were going to run away with the division. Yeah. They beat Seattle in Seattle. You remember the shootout game? It was the game where, like, I think Baker and Sam Darnold both had like
both
5 touchdowns in that game.
And they kept showing the Panthers graphic of both of them on the Panthers.
And it was the Bucs defense that stepped up and picked off Darnold, and that's how they won that game.
Yeah.
Like, you're looking at that thinking, man, not only are the Bucs going to win the NFC South, like they're a contender in the NFC to like maybe represent them, and they fell apart. Now, injuries played a role in it. Because of injuries up front, Baker's play dipped a little bit, and then you fall apart. So, like, the Saints ended the season on the hottest note. I trust Kellen Moore, like what he did with Tyler Shuck. You hope with an offseason where Shuck's taking all first-team reps, because remember last year, it wasn't just Spencer Rattler. Yeah. No, they had Jay Kaner Day. Remember, everybody's like, why is Jay Kaner have a day? And they're like, we're going to give all 3 of these guys an equal opportunity. So let's say Shuck was taking 40% of the first-team reps last year. He's taking 100%.
Yeah, easy.
And he's even more comfortable with the NFL game.
Yeah,
I expect a big jump. So, like, dude, I do. I think I trust them more going into 2026 than the rest of the division.
That's scary, though. It's scary. It's scary to be in that position, but it's where you want it. You want to be in this position, so I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it too. I like that prediction there from ESPN.com. I think there's a good shot that does happen, and the Saints could potentially win the NFC South. All right, we're going to take a quick timeout. When we get back, we're transitioning from the Saints to LSU. It's coming up next here on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Lifetime Roofing, lifetimeroofingla.com. Lifetimeroofingla.com is that website. Look, storm season is around the corner. Maybe you don't feel like you need a new roof. You don't have any leaking issues that you know of. The roof's a little bit older, but you don't see it discolored. It's not giving you problems. But you're a little bit nervous what a storm might do. Well, they don't have to put a new roof on. They can at Lifetime Roofing, but they can come over and they can do a tune-up to reinforce that roof, so you feel like you've got more peace of mind as storm season approaches. It's just part of our life down here in South Louisiana. We know storm season can be rough. We've had a couple of quiet ones in a row. I hope there's 10 more to come just like it, but I think we all know that that's unlikely. If you want to take care of that big investment, which is your house, take care of the people under your roof, which is the most important thing in your life, and want to make sure that your roof is in the best shape it can be to do that, Lifetime Roofing is a company you can trust. They're Baton Rouge-based, Louisiana people, give you a lifetime workmanship warranty. It's Lifetime Roofing, lifetimeroofingla.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
First American Bank and Trust. First American Bank and Trust. FABT.com. FABT.com. Bank local. They've been local at First American Bank and Trust for 116 years. It's kind of hard to believe, but it's true. 116 years they've been here, and they've grown to 25 locations throughout Southeast Louisiana. There's always one near you, whether you're around Baton Rouge and Dutchtown or Jones Creek, maybe up I-12 and St. Tammany and Tangipahoa, down the Bayou, St. James, St. John, Lafourche, Terrebonne, over in the New Orleans area, and Metairie. First American Bank and Trust is here in every single decision they make. All the decisions are made locally. So the people that are making decisions based on your commercial loan, your personal loan, are right here in the state of Louisiana, in Southeast Louisiana. You're not just a line item for somebody who's checking something in Atlanta or Sacramento. Right here in Southeast Louisiana. So stop in one of the branches, conveniently located, 25 of them, or check them out online at FABT.com. First American Bank and Trust.
All right, welcome back in here. Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Show up here with you. Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali. We had a little bit of an internet issue over the break. It was fun. Cassie was scrambling. I was crying. Jordan didn't know what he was going to do either. So we got it back. A little bit of a short segment here. Coming up in about 8 minutes, we're going to be joined by Jake Hubman of the Fantasy Headliners. Before we do that, though, Hunt Palmer, our own Hunt Palmer, on LouisianaSports.net, put out an article previewing the LSU tight end room. And, you know, it's a position we don't talk about enough because when you have a stud like Trey'Dez Green, you just assume he's going to play every snap. And while he may play every snap, it's not always going to be at the tight end position. So who's back in that room? It's Trey'Dez Green and it's J.D. LaFleur. We haven't seen a ton of J.D. LaFleur, but he's that big 6'7", 260-pound, big body tight end. You can use him as a blocker. He's got a little bit of hands too, but we haven't seen a ton of it. Now, as far as who's coming in, Malachi Thomas, the transfer from Pitt, who we know all about, right? I mean, 192 yards last year, just 2 touchdowns, but almost 15 yards per catch. He's a guy that could be a nice complement to a guy like a Trey'Dez Green. J.C. Anderson, the freshman, coming in. If you're out there at spring practice, I went to a few of the spring scrimmages, and Zach Grace is going to play a lot of tight end on this team. whether it's a traditional role, whether it's in the backfield at H-back, they liked him a lot. He was kind of running his tight end 2 out there during spring practice a lot of the time. So keep an eye out on Zach Grace as well. He's the transfer tight end. And remember his brother, Theo Grace from North Dakota. He transferred in as a linebacker. So I think this room has a lot of potential, especially when you look at a guy like Trey'Dez Green, 6'7", 245 pounds, and his numbers from year 1 to year 2 really took a step forward. Year 1, it was 100 yards, 4 touchdowns, but 3 of them coming within the last 2 games. And that's why we were so high on a guy like Trey'Dez Green coming into last year, right? You were thinking, oh, the connection between him and Garrett Nussmeier really thrived at the end of 2024 into that bowl game against the Baylor Bears. But last year, the offense was just in shambles, right? Because you bring over Bauer Sharp, who was the leading receiver for the Oklahoma Sooners. They lined him up at slot receiver in fall practice. They lined him up at tight end. They had him and Trey'Dez on the field at the same time. And Bauer Sharp was disappointing as well, both as a blocker and a receiver. But again, the scheme was so bad under Brian Kelly and Joe Sloan that it's hard to blame Trey'Dez. It's hard to blame a Bauer Sharp for any of those issues. So you can sit back and say, well, hell, Taylor, we heard this a year ago about the Trey'Dez Green Bauer Sharp duo. I get it, but it's a lot different with Lane Kiffin. Because if anyone can get the most out of a guy like Trey'Dez Green, it's Lane Kiffin. Just look at what he did a year ago with Daquan Wright. Before Daquan Wright got to Ole Miss, he played 2 years at Virginia Tech. 200 yards receiving, 366 yards receiving, no touchdowns in 2 seasons. His first year at Ole Miss, 2024, right under 400 yards receiving, 4 touchdowns, 14.5 yards per catch. Last year, 635 yards. He was one of their top 3 receivers a year ago for the Rebels. 5 touchdowns, 16.5 yards per reception. Trey'Dez Green has a lot more raw ability than a guy like Daquan Wright. And Wright is a good college tight end. I mean, he's going to be in the NFL this year. That's a guy that thrived in a Lane Kiffin offense. I can't imagine what he is going to do with a guy like Trey'Dez Green. I am really excited about that. We were talking about it yesterday. Jordan said, hey, if LSU gave out a number 7 for the best player on the team, would it be Trey'Dez Green? Probably, just because of his ability. Going back 2 years ago, again, back to that Baylor game, we saw it, right? He was lined up out wide. He caught a deep ball from Garrett Nussmeier for a touchdown, caught another touchdown later in that game. But it was a lot of short stuff. I think last year, even with the passing game being as abysmal as it was, having a hurt quarterback, having a bad O-line in front of that quarterback, having no running game, I think you saw flashes from Trey'Dez Green. He had that long touchdown against, I believe it was South Carolina, a 42-yard touchdown. That was a career long for him. So he showed to not only be a red zone threat, but a complete player. Because that's all we hear about Trey'Dez Green, right? Man, you get inside the red zone, you can throw it up to that 6'7" monster, and he can do something for you. I think he's more than that. And I think you're going to see that in a Lane Kiffin offense. I think you're going to see a more complete, a more traditional tight end because he's put on a lot of weight. I mean, he's close to 250 pounds now, but also a guy that can line up out wide. A guy that, look, if he's lined up on the perimeter against a corner who's 6'1", I mean, you got a 6'7" monster. Who's going to be able to guard that guy? At least for a whole game, nobody. He's a mismatch nightmare. I think Sam Levitt's going to be perfect for this Lane Kiffin offense. I think he's going to thrive there. And I think that out of anyone this year, returner or transfer, Trey'Dez Green might be the guy that has the highest upside just because of what I think he can do in this Lane Kiffin offense. All right, we don't want to keep Jake waiting, so what we're going to do is a little bit of a shorter segment there. We're going to take a timeout. When we get back, Jake Hubman of the Fantasy Headliners joining us here on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
They got deals. Fabry Chevrolet GMC has got some savings for you, and I am going to tell you about them because if you'd like to get by and take a look, you can certainly do it. They're on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. You can get a 2026 Chevy Silverado at 0% APR financing from now until the end of the month. That's not a long time. You got a week and a half, but 0% APR financing on 2026 Chevy Silverados for 36 months. You can get a 2026 GMC Sierra 1500 at 2.9 financing for 72 months now until the end of the month. Great deals on Silverados and Sierras, and got some vehicles that are potentially really affordable. Chevy Trailblazer, Chevy Trax, as low as $30,000 over at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. So if that's the price range you're looking at, Go see them. Highway 61 in St. Francisville. They're also online at FabryChevrolet.com. FabryChevrolet.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Gotro's Outdoor Power. Gotro's Outdoor Power. It is grass growing season. That rain's falling. That weather is warming up, and that means you got to cut that grass. Gotro's can get you behind the wheel of a zero-turn mower for $100 a month. It's a family-owned and operated business. They've been at it 22 years. That's why you should do business with them, not just because it's family-owned and operated, although doing business with local folks is always something that we endorse, but because the customer service that you get from someone in your community that's able to see you face-to-face, have a relationship with you, that's important. And that's why they do business the way they do at Gotro's. When I say family-owned and operated, don't misconstrue that as a small business. They're the National Hustler Deal of the Year 2 of the last 3 years. They've got the largest hustler inventory in the state, largest parts inventory in the state. So if you need a zero-turn mower, you can get one from the big box stores. I wouldn't recommend it. You may never hear from them again. That will never be the case at Gotro's Outdoor Power. You can find them at 2 locations, Airline Highway in Baton Rouge and, of course, in Gonzales as well. It's Gotro's Outdoor Power. They're online at gotrosonline.com.
All right, welcome back in here on a Thursday edition. Taylor Sharp hanging out with you here. Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali along for the ride as well. Let's go out to the phone lines, or I should say the internet lines, since the phones in studio are down. Jake Hubman with the Fantasy Headliners joining us now to talk a little fantasy football. Jake, how are you today?
Taylor, I'm doing good. Glad to be on the show again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for hopping on. I know it's a little bit different than last time, but Jake, the weather, it's been storming down here for like 2 days straight, so we're just kind of rolling with the punches, but I appreciate you being flexible. Look, I tune into you guys' YouTube channel quite frequently, and I know y'all have been like mock draft kings this offseason, right? I mean, I know you've done different scenarios, different positions or everything, and you don't really know who your top pick is, right, until you get into that draft room. But let's say Jake Hubman has the number 1 pick in his fantasy draft this year. Who do you take with the top pick?
I mean, as of right now, it's probably still Bijan Robinson, right? But the thing that you can say in 2026 that you haven't really been able to say for multiple years is there's a lot of good options, right? It's not like there's just one clear-cut number 1 guy. You got Bijan Robinson, you got Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, Christian McCaffrey, even Jackson Smith and Jigba could be a great choice here this year. So honestly, where in years past, maybe you wanted to lock up that number 1 guy, get that best player. I think this is the year where you have an opportunity that even if you have a top 5 or 6 pick, you're going to land somebody who you could probably make an argument for as being the top overall pick.
Okay, so as far as rookies go in the draft, some people get kind of scared to draft rookies early because you haven't seen what they're going to do. But as far as the rookie class as a whole, a lot of talent there. But, I mean, where you've looked, whether it's their ADP or the mock drafts you've been in, is there a rookie right now, like overdrafted or underdrafted?
Overdrafted is probably always going to be the running backs, right? So look at, Jeremiah Love as a good example of that. He's definitely going to be overdrafted. And it's not that it's a talent issue. It's somewhat of a team issue when you're banking on the running game in Arizona. It can be a little bit iffy. Obviously, he's making a ton of money to be the starting running back. He's going to get a lot of touches. But I think what a lot of people don't realize when it comes to fantasy football, and when you draft a rookie that early, you're drafting them at a certain spot. And now all of a sudden you need a certain statistical total, right? So as of right now, Jeremiah Love is the current RB12 overall as projected ADP. That means he's going to need around like 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 50 receptions. And that's just to return draft value. So if you're trying to draft a guy that has even more upside than where you're getting him, it's going to be hard for some of these rookies to do that. 1,400 yards is a great season, but it's kind of like you're drafting him at his ceiling instead of trying to get somebody maybe a little bit later, like a Jadarian Price in Seattle, who could have an opportunity earlier in the season to really outperform where he's being drafted.
Yeah, I personally love where Jadarian Price is being drafted. Now, I know that Zach Charbonnet, a guy that you like, is still on that team, but Jake, he's hurt, and we don't really know yet for certain when he's going to come back. Like, why do you think it is that Price is going lower right now? I mean, is it the Zach Charbonnet factor?
It has to be, and I think that part of it leads into these off-season clips of, Zach Charbonnet's on a practice field and he's walking around, and all of a sudden people are like, wow, maybe he's coming back soon. It's still a major injury. It's still going to be a long-time recovery. Just because a player is out there walking around at camp does not mean he's going to be 100% week 1 and game ready. I mean, to me, it makes a lot of sense that they took Jadarian Price. I mean, they've had a 2-back system there that worked just fine last year with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. even when Charbonnet does return, it's going to take him some time to get back up to speed. And Jadarian Price could have so much value. And what's great about him is you can draft him a little bit later. You're not overly reliant upon him. And then you can trade him away before Charbonnet really gets back to 100% and try to capitalize a little bit on that value.
Jake Hillman, the Fantasy Headliners, joining us right now. Jake, as far as the established guys in the NFL, right, the non-rookies, there's a lot of new faces in new places this offseason. Is there a guy out there where you're like, wow, they have really improved their situation from a year ago?
I mean, I just mentioned his name. I think Kenneth Walker going to Kansas City is a huge improvement. Right now, he doesn't have to split a backfield with Zach Charbonnet. Now he's not going to get pulled off the field on the goal line. We're not going to miss out on those opportunities. I think him going to Kansas City with the return of Eric Bieniemy at offensive coordinator really opens up a ceiling type season for Kenneth Walker. If we want to go away from free agency and look at a trade, I think A.J. Brown going to New England has the opportunity to absolutely freaking explode in 2026. He's going to go to a team that did not have an alpha wide receiver, has a more than capable quarterback, and a team that really needed that number one guy. So I think Kenneth Walker, A.J. Brown, two players in new teams that could really have huge seasons.
Let's go out to the state of California. Two older receivers that just seem like they're not aging at all. One being Devontae Adams, who led the league in touchdown catches last year. Who saw that coming at the beginning of the year? And then a guy that's coming off of an injury-plagued season in Mike Evans, but when he's on the field, he's still really productive. What are your thoughts? I mean, I feel like you're getting really good value from both those guys this year.
100%. I mean, Devontae Adams is basically the goal line back in LA for the Rams. I mean, that's basically what he is. When they're inside the 5, they're looking towards Devontae Adams, which absolutely kills Kyron Williams owners. But I don't see that role really changing. Why change what works? Now, maybe we don't see, league leading touchdowns, but 10 plus, absolutely. That's a value for where he's going. Mike Evans is somebody I've been talking about for weeks, maybe even months at this, since he joined San Francisco. I mean, you have a team with George Kittle coming off major injury. Ricky Pearsall can't stay healthy. They added Christian Kirk, who has not been able to stay healthy. I mean, there's plenty of opportunity for Mike Evans to go out there. He gets a much more accurate quarterback in Brock Purdy. And that's where Mike Evans thrives, is down the field, the deep ball. And when it comes to the deep ball, Purdy is better than Baker Mayfield. I think both of those guys have huge value. A lot of people will stray away just due to the age and the potential role of Devontae Adams. He's not going to be that 1,500-yard guy anymore, but both of these guys are solidified, in my opinion, top 24 wide receivers in fantasy football, and I would be fine if they're my wide receiver 2 on my team.
I'm glad you mentioned the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because, folks over here in Louisiana, Saints fans, they hope the Bucs aren't good this year, but there's talent there. A guy like look, Emeka Egbuka, yes, wide receiver 1, but I want to focus a little bit on Bucky Irving because he was getting drafted super high a year ago and pretty productive when he was on the field. He was just injury plagued. I know that because I drafted Bucky Irving a year ago, but you lose Rachaad White. Everyone's thinking, oh, hey, Bucky's going to be the bell cow, but Kenneth Gainwell, I should say, coming in. Like, what do you think that split's going to look like?
Honestly, I think Kenneth Gainwell is way better than what Rachaad White was. So I don't know if that's really going to change a whole lot. I think Bucky Irving has a lot to prove this year in staying healthy. If he struggles once again with injuries, it's going to be one of those guys that we move into the next few years that we cannot really count on. He's going to fall towards those middle rounds. If he can stay healthy, I 100% agree with you. When he's on the field, he produces. He can do all things. He can be on the field for all 3 downs. He can catch passes. He can run balls in on the goal line. But Kenneth Gainwell is severely underrated in the game of football. And I think a lot of people maybe were caught off guard last year by his performance in Pittsburgh, but they shouldn't be. They brought him to Tampa Bay for a reason. With the Evans departure, Chris Godwin is aging. He's, struggled with injuries at time himself. Kenneth Gainwell is going to be involved a lot more than a lot of people want to hear. Not to say that Bucky isn't going to have a chance at a solid year, but the ceiling type of year that maybe we were hoping for last year, I'm not banking on because I have too much faith in Kenneth Gainwell.
Jake, I've seen some of the mock drafts you've put out, and you have a similar strategy to me in terms of quarterback. I tend not to draft quarterbacks particularly early. I like to load up on running backs and receivers as much as I can. But how early is too early for one of these top end guys?
Man, you're right. I'm not an early quarterback guy, and we have put out numerous videos as to why the math ain't mathin' when you do quarterbacks early. Sixth round for me is probably about as good as early as it's going to get. I like to have 3 running backs and 2 wide receivers by the end of round 5. I don't care in which order I get them, but that's what I'm looking for. And that's when I would maybe go to one of the top guys if they were to fall. But I really love to stay round 9 or later. You got guys like Bo Nix, last year's MVP Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, who's super reliable. I'm fine with those guys a little bit later. We actually put a video out, I believe it was last week, where we did a blind comparison of Lamar Jackson and Bo Nix, and the stats are almost identical. So when you remove the names and just look at numbers, you can find value later on, especially at the quarterback position that's deeper than it ever has been.
Jake, a guy that I see that incredible value right now, Alec Pierce, he's getting drafted a lot lower, but we know he has that injury. However, if he is a guy that's fully healthy, could you see him being a draft riser?
100%. I mean, I think as of right now, we have to go into draft season with him being a discount. And really, it's because we have to follow the money. Again, 4 years, $114 million. He's the 11th highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. You don't go out there and pay a guy that much money and not expand his role, because over the last couple of years, especially last year, he's really been known as that deep play guy, that big play guy that's going to win a 50-50 ball and get you chunk yardage. He hasn't really been the guy that's going to get a consistent huge target share. He's not going to rack up yards after the catch. Well, that's all going to have to change. My biggest concern is now all of a sudden he's going to be thrust into that wide receiver 1 role in Indianapolis. Can he take the extended defensive coverage? Now he's going to have tougher matchups. He's kind of unproven as that number 1 guy. I kind of think back to a few years ago now when Antonio Brown left and Juju was the number 1 in Pittsburgh, and he just could never handle that number 1 role. Not saying that Alec Pierce can't. It's just we haven't been able to see that yet. So honestly, the discount is great. It's kind of baked in there, so you don't have to worry about it too much. But as long as his ADP doesn't continue to rise all offseason, he could be an absolute steal, probably right around round 7 or so.
All right, Jake, if those out there that are listening and need advice so that they don't have to do a fantasy football punishment for finishing last in their league this year, what is the number 1 mistake you hear people make that just absolutely kills their team during drafts?
There's a lot. I mean, honestly, I can just kind of summarize it by saying, don't fall for the nonsense, right? I think right now as football fans at this time of the year, whether it's June, July, we're desperate for football, right? So we see a camp clip of a guy making a big play when he's got shorts and a t-shirt on against no defense. And all of a sudden we throw him up the draft board. Like, we can't let things like that really influence us. We are very data driven, very analytical. Numbers and history repeat itself. So we're trying to find those trends. We're not going to get caught up in all those off-season hot takes that a lot of people want to throw out there, the camp clips. You know, aside from that, though, it's just taking too many risks, right? I mean, I know as the male species, we like to go out there and we like to have a little bit of fun. We like to get emotional. We want to have all these high upside guys in our lineups. Well, the problem with that is if you don't have enough safety, you kind of go into every week as a total boom or bust team. And more times than not, it'll be a bust. So honestly, just don't fall for the nonsense. Take everything with a grain of salt in the offseason. Look at all the information, look at all the data, and then really come to a conclusion based off of that, and not just some 6-second clip that you saw on Twitter or X.
Jake Cobbin of the Fantasy Headliners. Jake, before we get you out of here, tell folks where they can find you and, of course, all about that draft guide.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find us over on YouTube, the Fantasy Headliners, putting out a minimum of 5 videos per week in the off season and 13 weekly videos in season. So we got you covered with everything you need fantasy football related. Plus our draft guide is available, tfhdraftguide.com. There is not a better value, not a better bang for your buck. All the information you can get at the lowest price in the industry. So be sure to go out there and check it out, tfhdraftguide.com.
All right, Jake Cobbin of the Fantasy Headliners. Jake, thanks so much for hopping on with me today.
Absolutely, Taylor. I appreciate you.
Yep. All right. We're going to take a quick time out. We get back. Closing out hour number 1. Me and Jordan may chop up a little NFL and maybe find out if we can figure out what Hunt Palmer's doing on vacation. That's all coming up here on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Make sure the power doesn't go out on you. We're going to have some nasty storms blowing through Louisiana, all from the north to the south portion of the state. And you know when those happen, especially as the weather warms up, you can lose power. It's at the very least annoying. At the worst, it's debilitating for work and sleep. Make sure it doesn't happen. Boudreaux's Electrical can come out, have a local team, install that Generac home standby generator, and make sure that your power does not go off. Evacuate from a storm. You don't want to come back to a dark, hot house with a ruined fridge and freezer. No. You want to come back to a house that's powered. Boudreaux's Electric can make that happen with that Generac home standby generator. Give them a call at 985-397-1562, 985-397-1562, or 225-300-9389. That's 225-300-9389. You can do it the easy way. Find them online at boudreauxelectrical.com. That's Boudreaux's Electrical Services.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
All right, welcome back in. Final segment, hour number 1 here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp sitting in for our guy Hunt Palmer for, we got about an hour left. Top of hour number 2, we will have Preston Guy. I know he's normally on Fridays, but texted our guy, there's a ton of recruiting going on right now. And for what it's worth, yesterday we talked about Jaden Anding not committing to LSU or anywhere else yesterday. He has pushed that back. Davion Jones and Greedy James, 2 other DBs that are heavily considering LSU, are committing today. Davion Jones, I believe, is 6 p.m., so right after AFR gets off the air. Greedy James will be 4 o'clock or somewhere in that 4 o'clock hour. So it will not happen before we get off the air today, but that will happen today. We will see where Davion Jones and Greedy James commit to, and we will talk to Preston to break it all down. Jordan, you gonna watch quarterback when it comes out, man? We're about 2 weeks away. July 14th. Jaden Daniels, Baker Mayfield, Cam Ward, Joe Flacco. Does that interest you?
Not really. Not like how I used to. Not how I used to.
No?
Nah, not this crop. Nah, man.
I think this is a very interesting crop. I mean, Baker's got a heck of a personality.
Yeah,
Baker's
that's
cool.
going
to be interesting.
JD5 with his mom, and Cam Ward is going to just get whooped every week.
I mean, Flacco, so it's obviously focusing on last season. So he gets traded from Cleveland to Cincinnati. He has to start at both spots unexpectedly. Like, I don't know, maybe
The whole sports documentary thing, they don't hit no more like how they used to. I just feel like the game has gotten so oversaturated. I feel like everybody has a documentary. I feel like everybody is coming out with like, oh yeah, we've been recording secretly for the last 5 years and like doing all this. I feel like Netflix just swooped in after The Last Dance, and now everybody gets a documentary. Feels like every time you look up, it's a documentary. Now they did a Jailblazers documentary for the Portland Trailblazers that did nothing in the early 2000s. They get a documentary. So it's like everybody gets a documentary.
Well, can I interest you in this one?
Yes.
A Paramount Plus docuseries chronicling Texas Tech throughout the offseason and the Brendan Sorsby scandal.
Are you kidding me?
It got greenlit yesterday. No word yet on if it's actually
me right now?
No.
This is real.
Yeah. TexasTech.com.
They're really
Sporting News. Look up Sporting News right now. Sporting News has it.
This the link right here?
Yeah. Click it.
Are you kidding me?
No, man. Look, I mean, it's
Brendan Sorsby is finna they are finna make this a documentary for this dude gambling.
No word yet on like they ain't even started filming yet. No word yet on when it's going to come out. It may not even ever come out, but
it better not.
It has been greenlit. The good news is Texas Tech will get the publicity they've so desperately wanted all offseason.
You know what, Taylor? I was one of those people at first. I was like, I kind of like what Texas Tech is doing. Like, they're trying to stick it to Texas. I like this. And then the Sorsby stuff happened. And then just seeing how they tried to act like him gambling on his sport is not a big deal. It's not that big of a deal that he wasn't playing, man. He was gambling. He wasn't playing on the team, actually.
Yeah, but you know what? You going to watch it, ain't you? If it comes out, you ain't gonna watch it. You ain't gonna tune in at all.
If I see what some of the clips come out first, the clips gonna drop on social media first. They come out, it's got like Joey, Aguilar?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joey Aguilar. He's over there like, yeah, man, the world hates us. It's Texas versus everybody. If he comes out like that, all right, now I'm about to tap in just for the hate watch. Just for the hate watch, hey, look, I'm not like I'm an interesting person. I got all these things going on. Jordan's not over here. Got all this going on. Yeah, if it's that controversial, just to get some hate in the air, I'll tap in. I'll kick my feet up. I might drink a beer to it. Why not?
Jordan, I've filled in for Hunt and OTB quite a lot. This is the first time I have switched laptops mid-show.
It's first time for everything.
Dude, I don't know what happened. It's funny. I always crap on this laptop in studio. I talk about how it's old, how it's slow. My laptop completely lost internet. Won't even allow me to reconnect to Wi-Fi. I had to fire this baby up. We're connected to Wi-Fi.
Immediately.
We're hardwired right here. It wouldn't take the hardwire plug. We're good to go. So you know what? My apologies to the Dell laptop here from the year 1975. So it's one of those things. What do we think Hunt Palmer's doing on vacation? Actually, I'm going to give you a list of what Hunt Palmer is absolutely not doing on his vacation.
You want me to agree with you?
Spending time with his kids.
Probably not. No.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Hunt talks about it. He's like,
Yeah.
look, love the little guys. They can be a lot.
Yeah.
He said he was going to play a lot of golf on this trip. He's like, I'm playing golf at least 3 times.
He did say that.
Hunt's probably out on a golf course somewhere right now. So the weather's not bad out there. My parents are in. Okay, where's Hunt? Is it Destin?
I know he's in the beach. I really don't know. He did a good job and not really like. Yeah, I guess Hunt didn't want no fans, no flash photography. Leave him alone.
Bro, he's on Palmer. He's a big deal. We're gonna find.
What I'm saying. Like,
we're gonna find him regardless of where
he's
he's
got to
at.
be low key.
My parents are in Gulf Shores right now, or Orange Beach, and
I love Orange Beach, Alabama.
Weather's fine. Not raining on them. Got a phone call from them earlier.
I love it.
Not raining on them. So if Hunt's anywhere near there, the weather's fine over there. It's not an absolute downpour here. So I imagine Hunt Palmer hitting the golf course a little bit.
I'm
spending
upset.
some time in the sand, but it's the sand traps. It's not on the sandy beach. Hunt does not strike me as a let me sit out on the beach with the toes in the sand kind of guy.
I don't know. He said he was going to be on the beach with a beverage. He did say he was going to be on the beach, but now I'm upset because you brought up Orange Beach. And Orange Beach is just so fantastic, man. Like the sand, I just feel like the sand is different in Orange Beach. It's like Orange Beach, Alabama.
Everybody has a beach that they grew up going to.
Yes.
For me and my family, it's Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, whatever area you want to call it, but mainly Gulf Shore. I mean, Orange Beach. We stayed at Phoenix East, the condo. They got a bunch of Phoenixes out there. We stayed at Phoenix East. I mean, dude, we stayed on the 12th floor corner condo. We used to go growing up.
And it's Alabama.
We would do 10 days.
Yeah.
During the week of 4th of July, every summer. Basically,
I got some money, boy.
Well, this was back when I was in elementary, so it wasn't.
What it is now. Yeah, I'm about to say, y'all had some.
So me and Victoria, we went to Aruba for our senior trip.
Yeah.
I mean, our senior trip. Jeez, God, I'm getting old. Our wedding, honeymoon. It is cheaper to go to Aruba for like 5 days than it is to spend a week at Orange Beach, depending on the weekend.
I believe you.
That's just insane. Crazy. That's just insane to me. But no, I hope Hunt's having a good time. Not spending a ton of time with the kiddos out there on the golf course. But
sunscreen, Hunt.
Yeah, we hope our guys having a good time. All right, look, coming up in hour number 2, we still got a lot to get to. LSU baseball gets a right-handed pitcher from the portal. But coming up at the top of the hour, we got Preston Guy, TigerBait.com. Straight up 2 o'clock. We got a ton of recruiting to get to, and we're getting to it next here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. Property and casualty or group employee benefits. Your one-stop shop for all things insurance is, of course, the Highland Insurance Group. If you're a business owner and you don't have a great relationship with your insurance broker, they're just the guy who came with the lowest premium number. That's one way to handle it, but it might not be the best way, especially when something happens. Whether it's a hurricane or a car accident or a cyber breach or a lawsuit or an injury. When that happens, you're going to need your insurance to respond. And if you only have the insurance in place because it was the cheapest one, it may not. Jonathan Carver and his team can be a trusted advisor and a part of your team as a business to make sure that your business continues to run even if the event happens. Give them a call or check them out online, HighlandIG.com. They're right here in Baton Rouge, but they can help you out statewide. It's Jonathan Carver and his team at the Highland Insurance Group. They're online at HighlandIG.com.